We finished our study through the Gospel of Mark last week, and Advent begins next Sunday. So what I have to share today isn't tied to anything before or after it. It's just some words for today, for the sake of today. I've been thinking a lot about success lately, what it really is, what it really means. For much of my life, I have experienced success by pursuing it as we're all taught to pursue it from a very young age. By hard work, by determination, by putting my work first, and by doing whatever it takes for however long it takes, sacrificing whatever it costs, no matter what, to get where I want to be. And I think that it's good to be like this earlier on in life, at least for a time. It's people in this phase of life who provide fuel for the motor of the world, so to speak. Without people in this stage of life, there'd be very few new ideas or forward movement in the world. So it's good to be this way, but we can't stay this way forever. In my particular case, though, I think I stayed in that place for longer than I should have. I pursued success and productivity at the expense of some of the most meaningful things in my life. Why? Because I like the hustle. I like having something to conquer. I like being busy, and I love being productive. But now, looking back on my life, I can see that many of the milestones of my younger years aren't really milestones at all now. I didn't see that then, but I do now. And the more I age, I see that what we learn from life has very little to do with what we achieve, and more about who we become along the way. In these sermons, I often ask you to write something down as a kind of takeaway to bring with you into the coming week. And today, I suppose that is the takeaway. What we learn from life has very little to do with what we achieve, and more about who we become along the way. Maybe that's true. I don't know, but it is for me anyway. And if that is true, it means that the things that we feel driven to achieve in this life actually work like placebos. We labor under the illusion that achievement is the point and achievement is the goal, but it isn't. It's just the thing that gets us to the place where by divine grace, working through things like calamity and collapse and catastrophe, we become able to see the real thing, the real point. Call it God, peace, enlightenment, whatever. Learning and developing in the spiritual life is like this. It's always backwards, it's always reversed, it's always flipped. There's a passage from 2 Corinthians that speaks of this process of learning, using a mirror as an illustration. It says this: all of us are looking with unveiled faces at the glory of the Lord, as if we're looking in a mirror. We are being transformed into that same image from one degree of glory to the next degree of glory. This comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. This passage is saying something profound to us about how development happens in the spiritual life. What this passage is trying to get across to us is that everything we think we are in this life gets reversed. It gets flipped in the reflection of the mirror that is God. The mirror in this passage is a metaphor, yes, but it's a carefully chosen one, because it's how a mirror works that becomes important to us in this lesson. And so the writer of this passage is saying something like, God things can only be seen the way that we see things in a mirror. They're always flipped, they're always backwards, they're always reversed. It's why so many of the world's influential sages and mystics and poets and gurus and other spiritual teachers down throughout the ages often say things that sound so, well, backwards. And Jesus is no exception in this crowd. He also said things that left people scratching their heads because they were such a reversal of the norms of his own culture at the time. Just to give you a very few, and there are many, we'd be here for hours if I listed them all, but just a few. Matthew 16:25, for whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. Mark 10:43, whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be the slave of all. Matthew 19:21, if you want to be perfect, go sell your possessions and give your money to the poor. Matthew 19:30, many who are first will be last, and many who are last will be first. God's ways on the surface appear to be backwards, flipped, reversed, just like the reflection in a mirror. There is a great story about a man fishing on the beach that I love. I can't remember where I first heard it, but the story goes. One day a fisherman was lying on a beautiful beach with his fishing pole propped up in the sand and his line cast out into the sea. He was enjoying the warmth of the afternoon sun while catching some fish to feed his family. And a businessman came along walking on the beach trying to relieve some of the stress of his workday. He noticed the fisherman sitting on the sand and was puzzled as to why he was just sitting there fishing in the middle of the day instead of being productive. So he walked up to him and he said, "You aren't going to catch very many fish that way." And the fisherman responded, "It's actually been a really great day so far," and he tilted the bucket beside him toward the businessman, revealing more than a few fish swimming around inside. And the businessman scoffed, "Well, you could catch way more than that if you went out on a boat." And the fisherman responded, "But I don't need more than that. In fact, I have more than I need. Would you like a few fish to take with you?" The businessman didn't even blink and he said, "I just don't get it. Why wouldn't you want more fish? You might not need them, but you could sell them and make a lot of money. Clearly, you know how to catch fish. But why don't you want to make some money doing this?" And the fisherman responded, "Well, what would the point of that be?" And the businessman was getting irritated. He said, "So you can buy a boat and hire some people to work for you," he said. "Why?" the fisherman asked. And the businessman was now angry. "So you can build a fleet of fishing boats and hire people to catch the fish for you, and then you can sell them and make lots of money." "But why?" the fisherman asked. And the businessman finally exploded, red-faced with rage, shouting at the fisherman, "So that you can become rich, so that you will never have to work a day in your life again. You can spend all day just sitting on the beach, enjoying yourself." And the fisherman, deeply puzzled, looked up at him and said, "But I'm already doing that right now." Let me ask you something this morning. Which of those characters in the story do you identify with the most? I know which one I am. I know it without a doubt every time I read this story. I am the businessman, angrily hurrying my way down the beach, frustrated that I can't relax. I don't even see the sun or the waves or the ocean. All I can see is the guy who's sitting there on the beach enjoying the day. And he annoys me. And you know why he annoys me? Because he's at peace and I'm not. Even though I'm doing more than he is in my life. And the truth is, I'm not really annoyed with him. I'm annoyed with me. Because he is a mirror that forces me to see a flipped, reversed, backward version of myself that I actually long to be. He is everything that I am not. And because I won't own that, that's what annoys me. And all that I have to do to fix this problem in my life is to stop, to just sit down beside him and enjoy the beach. I don't need to add anything to what I'm doing. No, in fact, I need to subtract some things from my life. Because everything that I'm chasing and trying to achieve, he already has. And he is at peace and at ease and enjoying his life. And that is difficult being wired like I am. Which character in the story are you? No matter the answer, God's dream for both characters in the story is the same. Really getting honest with ourselves about whether we are human beings or human doings. The search for success has claimed more lives than any war or natural disaster ever has. And it's a slow death, because when we are trapped in it, we're not really living, even though biologically speaking, we're actually alive. And you are meant for more than that in your life. You are meant for more than slow death. Your life is more than just a competition. Your worth is not defined by the pace and progress of other people around you. Your worth is defined by God's infinite love for you as you are, not as you think you should be. And so today I want to encourage you to embrace the process of learning to be more backwards, to live your life in reverse, to see yourself, your life, God, even the entire world, as if you are looking at it in a mirror. What we learn from this life has very little to do with what we achieve, and more about who we become along the way. What are you becoming? All of us are looking with unveiled faces at the glory of the Lord as if we're looking in a mirror. We are being transformed into that same image from one degree of glory to the next degree of glory. This comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. Amen.